12. So now I'm going to quickly just revise the dominant 7th or the dominant quartet. Okay, so the dominant quartet, like the word says, quartet, means that we are working with 4 notes. And often it's just referred to the dominant 7th, but it belongs to the group of chords which are called quartets. Okay, so let's have a look at it. So I've taken this example in B flat major. So I've written the dominant quartet for you there. So like you know, the dominant triad in B flat is F, A, C. And all we do now with the quartet is we just add the interval of a 7th above the root. Okay, so from the F to the E flat is your 7th. And therefore we figure it like this. So it's our dominant triad and or chord, and then we use the 7th to indicate that it's a quartet. So because there are 4 notes, we don't need to know extra doubling rules. There's one doubling rule, but it's just an alternative, and I will discuss that a bit later. Okay, so let's just quickly look at it. Now, before I show you the resolution of it, I want you to know that you can use it at any point in your harmony where you would normally use a dominant triad. A very good way or a very good place to use it is actually in your cadences, like the perfect cadence. Instead of just having a normal chord 5, it's a good idea to actually replace it with a dominant quartet. It just adds extra finality and beauty to the cadence. Okay, so let's have a look at its resolution. So you've got your root in your quartet, and then you've got your third. So remember now, the third is actually the leading tone. And back when I discussed scales, I made you aware of referring to the leading tone as the leading tone and not the 7th, because when we look at the dominant quartet, we have a 7th, and people get confused with the 7th being the leading tone. Okay, so in B flat major, the A is the leading tone. So this is how you basically resolve it. So always with a quartet, you are going to resolve the third upwards, and the 7th you are going to resolve downwards. Okay, so it's the leading tone and it goes to the tonic. And for those of you, especially if you are doing jazz, you also work with quartets on other scale degrees, and the resolution works exactly the same. So the third always resolves upwards and the 7th resolves downwards. So that leaves us with 2 chords that it can basically resolve to. It either resolves to chord 1. Okay, so all I need to do there then is just to add my F, and now you can see I have a chord 1, or what it can also belong to is your chord 6. So in other words, that. So just because it resolves in a particular way, it also tells you what chord will follow it. Okay, so it's either chord 1 or it's going to be chord 6. So let's just quickly have a look at the different inversions of it. So that's root position, that is how you indicate it. So it's 5, 7. And then first inversion, of course, the third is going to be the lowest note in the bass. So I've written it out for you there. So you can see it's F, A, C, and then we have the E flat. And we figure it 5, 6, 5. And of course this refers to the interval of a 5th and a 6th above the bass note. Another way that you can also figure it is 5, 7, B to indicate first inversion. And then one thing that I just want to quickly say here to get back to this figuring, we don't indicate the third in the figuring. And also I know that I'm working with a quartet because it's figured 6-5, unlike a triad which would only be figured 5-6. Okay, so that's how I know it's a quartet. Then if we look at second inversion, I see my V fell away there, or maybe I forgot to write it. Okay, so second inversion means that my fifth is going to be in the bass, and so I have my F, A, C, E flat, and it's figured 5-4-3, again indicating the interval of a third and a fourth above the bass note. No need to indicate the sixth. Alternatively, it can be figured 5-7-C, like you can see there. And then lastly, you can also, because of the fourth, you have a third inversion. In other words, your E is going to be in the bass, and you figure it 5-4-2. So there you can see your interval of a second and the fourth. Again, no need to actually also write the sixth. And alternatively, you can figure it 5-7-D. Like I've mentioned with triad, you are either going to stick to the one method, in other words the 5-6-5-4-3, that method, or you're going to stick with using letters in the figuring. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly do a couple of examples for you that you can just get the feel for it again. So I'm going to write the dominant quartet in B flat major. So this would, I decided to use it like at the end of a piece where I've got a perfect cadence. So I don't know what was happening earlier in the bar, so that's why I just drew little squiggly lines there. So yeah, it's going to be, say, 4-4. Okay, so our quartet, and I would suggest when you write your triads or your quartet, to actually just write down the letter names of the triad. It will help you not to get confused or make mistakes. Okay, so it's going to be F, A, C, E flat. Okay, and like I said, the third, which is the leading tone, is going to resolve ascending, and then the seventh is going to resolve descending. Okay, so that's a good way of just like preparing yourself and just giving you a clear mind of what you're going to do, and to avoid unnecessary mistakes. Okay, so let's just quickly write it down. And also, as I'm going to get to the third and the seventh, the moment I write them, I resolve them. And then at least I know that I'm not making any mistakes there. Okay, so I'm going to start. So I have my F and A. So this is my third. So moment I write it, I'm also resolving it. Okay, then I've got my C, and then I have my E flat. Moment I write it, I resolve it. So that's going to resolve stepwise down. Okay, so now I just need to fill in the gaps. How easy is that? So I'm working in B flat major. I decided to resolve to chord 1, my tonic chord. So I've got my B. Okay, let me just quickly write this for you there. So it's B, D, F. Because it's a major triad and it's a tonic triad, I've got the option of either doubling my root, or I can also alternatively double the F. So let's just see. The doubling is going to be determined by the voice leading. So I always move to the closest chord note to avoid unnecessary big leaps in my harmony. Okay, so I already have that B, it's in root position there, so it's a given in this example that I'm going to double the tonic, the root. Okay, so it's B, D, and then we're going to have the F, but what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to use the alternative doubling possibility where I triple the root, omit the fifth, and then I still have the third, which gives me the major quality of the triad. Okay, and the reason why I did that was just voice leading, because if I use the F, it would have been down here, and that would actually give me parallel fifths between my bass and my tenor, and also the voice leading is really terrible. Okay, so that's why you really need to know all your different doubling possibilities. Okay, so like you know, in music we often have an exception to the rule. Now there's only one exception when it gets to how the quartet resolves, and that is when you have a dominant quartet in second inversion that resolves to the tonic triad in first inversion. This also applies to your minor keys. Okay, so the reason for that is that you're going to get faulty doubling in your tonic triad if you don't resolve it like you know in the exception, which I'll show you now. So the exception in 5/4/3 is that the seventh is actually going to resolve ascending instead of descending. Okay, so let's see. So we've got 5/4/3, and like I said, I would suggest that you always do something like this. You say the A needs to go up, but in this case the E flat is going to also go up, and it is in second inversion. So in other words, my C needs to be in the bass. Okay, so this just helps you to ground you in your harmony and know what you're doing, like just pre-frame you for what you're going to be writing. Okay, so I always start, I write it in this particular order, and I've explained that when I did triads. So I'm going to start, let's put the F here, the F there, F, and then the moment I write my third, I'm going to resolve it. Okay, F, A, and then I've got the C, and then I've got the E. So under normal circumstances, the E is going to resolve to the D, and I will show you why we're changing it just now. Okay, so we just make a star there, we're going to change that. Okay, and now I just fill the gaps there. So I have my B flat, D, F, tonic triad, major triad. So I'm going to double, most likely double my B flat, and it's first inversion, so there's my D. I've got B, D, F, okay? So if you look at this now, I've got B, D, F, and if you know your doubling rules, you'll know that you're not allowed to double the third of a major triad because it puts more emphasis on the third instead of on the root. So for that reason, we are going to change it. So this is your exception. So instead of the seventh resolving descending, it's actually going to resolve ascending, and then I don't have faulty doubling. And like you can see, because of this, I've doubled my fifth, which is perfectly fine. Okay, and then I'm going to do one more example for you, and this is just to show you another way that you can apply it. So how the dominant quartet basically came into existence, or any seventh in a chord for that matter, is that initially they were used as passing notes. Like in the Baroque, you're going to often actually see this. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can also use it as a passing note. So I have just a normal chord 5 here. So in other words, it's F, A, C. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly write that for you. So that's F, and I'm going to double the F, A, C. Okay, and say now I'm going to write chord 6. So I have here G, B flat, D. Okay, so there's my G, B, and then D. So just remember, whenever you have chord 6 that's preceded by chord 5, it's got a very strong tonic function, and therefore you are going to double the third of chord 6. Okay, so which is exactly what I did there. Okay, so like I said, it was initially used as a passing note. So what I'm going to do here, so there's my my F is there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this into a crotchet, a lot of colouring here on the board, and then I'm going to add my 7th here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then I have my 7th, which you can see is resolving downwards. Okay, so that's how you can basically integrate it and into your normal chord 5, and then all I need to do is I can just add the 7th there to indicate that my dominant chord here actually changed to a dominant quartet. Of course, this is the leading tone, the third in my triad, and it naturally resolves upwards to the tonic. Okay, and yes, that's basically the dominant quartet for you.